Hi, this is Laurie Wondra, and I am sitting in my office with Jake Wondra, and we just got done with a great lunch conversation, so we thought we'd come back and record it and share it with the greater public. And the funny thing is we tried it a few times, and the batteries have drained immediately on our recording equipment, so we know that there's a lot of energetic beings in the office here, because there always is. So I think we've got technology figured out here, Jake.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Let's try it again.
So to start out with, what is going on with the energies?
What's going on with the energies? And that's a really big question. And I'm so glad that you asked that question today. I want to take us back to where are we on this evolution, and just spend a moment reminding people that we are here, our souls are here in a physical body to experience evolution, to experience moving into a higher state of consciousness, which includes how do we interact with other energies. And our journey is meant or equipped to give us experiences so that we continue to evolve. That's the evolution process. So if you were a young child and put in just a blank white room, you wouldn't know what you liked or what you didn't like. It just would be blank white. Similar to what the universe is doing for us our entire life, is the universe is giving us experiences so that we know what we like or don't like, so we can course correct or adjust our journey. And in some cases, we don't know what we don't like unless we experience that. And then we say, wow, I really didn't like that at all, or I really did like that. And we hear a lot about manifestation and controlling our journey path. And the way we do that is by understanding what we like or we don't like and drawing energy into that situation. So if we can identify the things that we like or the things that make us happy and joyful and at peace and feeling fulfilled, then we can continue to draw that energy in and stay on track with that. So in the overall evolutionary process, that's what our souls, the journey that we're on. And the question that you ask is what's going on with the energies? The energies, and right now the planets, are conspiring to help us evolve quicker or to evolve along the pathway of higher consciousness. And the planets are just one energy source, but angels, guides, loved ones, pets, plants, crystals, I mean there's different kingdoms that lend their energy or support us by their energy so that we can evolve. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, what's going on right now? Big question. Full moon is April 11th, and it's a full moon in Libra. So if we just start there, full moon is about the feminine energy. It's typically associated to the mother energy or the feminine energy or our emotions. And Libra is also associated with our artistic abilities. It's about balance. Being Libra in astrology, there's a tendency to believe that they're easygoing, they're good with relationships, they're in touch with their emotions, or they might be more aware of their emotional body. And in the evolution process, in 2017 in particular, we are really expanding our emotional body. And for us to understand our emotions, we have to experience them. And so part of this full moon is really pushing some buttons on us that are helping us experience our emotions. And there's some other planets too that are influencing that, but the full moon is about releasing, and it's about our emotions. Okay. One of the other planets I wanted to touch on was Venus, because Venus really influenced us in 2016 as we were going through and really learning about who I am and what am I doing here, what's my purpose here on Earth. And in 2017, we get to take that, everything that we've learned in 2016, and start to present it out to the world. Here's who I am, and here's who I am at the grocery store. Or here's who I am when I come home and have dinner with my family. Here's who I am when I'm at work. We get to experience all those, and then again, experience those emotional triggers to say, here's who I am at work, and oh, I don't like who I am at work, so then we can adjust it. So those are the triggers that we're experiencing right now. And I know you asked me about the retrograde things. And right now, Venus is retrograde, and that just simply means that we have a pause in Venus forwarding direction. It's not that it's actually moving backwards. It's a pause. It's causing us to look a little bit deeper into the relationship we have with ourselves, or, as I mentioned, how am I or who am I in these different situations. Okay. You had also mentioned that you've been reading some fearful stuff about retrogrades.
Yes, a lot of people on Facebook especially are just, they're posting things like, oh great, it's a retrograde. And I've always been that way too. It's like, you get to a retrograde, I'm like, when is it going to be over? I just want to get through it. I've always thought of it as bad, but that's not necessarily the case.
It's not. It's actually a really good time. It's an opportunity. And as I spoke earlier, we're on this pathway of evolution, and we evolve based on our experiences. So it's giving us a blast from the past or an experience so that we can move forward. So retrograde, I like to think of it as the R-E in retrograde. Some great words to remember are reflect, remember, review, reinforce, reconnect, reestablish, redo, recreate. I mean, all those are great words. But really, it's telling us to pause long enough to review or look backwards as to where you were, or what's the situation that's right in front of you, and do you like it or don't like it? That's the experience. And if you like it, how do you recreate it? If you don't like it, how do you put it in the past and leave it in the past and not recreate it? And again, that recreating or redoing, it's really easy to recreate or redo patterns, even the bad patterns. And so some of the other planets that we're going to talk about here are really pushing those buttons in order to readdress or recondition, redo those patterns. Because if we stay in a pattern, we don't evolve. We stay status quo. And the universe really isn't going to allow us to just stay status quo. We have to continue to evolve, to learn about ourselves, to continue to grow, particularly as it comes to higher consciousness and how we connect. Because each time we evolve or move into a different state of higher consciousness, we get to learn how do we connect in that state of consciousness. So for example, if I'm doing animal communication or animal work or talking with the archangels, every time I go through a shift in my energy field, it's also a shift in reconnecting with them or moving up into higher levels of understanding in those kingdoms or in those energy fields also. Grow is evolving. Okay. And you had mentioned, I think one of the ones you were reading about was the Mercury retrograde.
Yes.
And
a lot of people are very worried about it. So I'd just like to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, well, Mercury is about communication. It's about travel and technology. And it's a pause for us. It's a time for us to go inward and reflect. One of the things that I would say to be aware of is to be thoughtful of your words and your communication. Sometimes words can just flow, and conversations can be super easy. Typically during Mercury retrograde, words or communication might be a little more difficult. I use the example of myself. This morning I had a presentation that I needed to do, a corporate presentation that I needed to do. And knowing where Mercury is, first thing I did was on the drive, and prior that actually when I got up this morning. I called in the angels. And I called in Archangel Michael to bring any courage, to remove any fears that I might have, help me align. He's aware of my journey, my purpose, and so I asked him just to make sure that anything that was said was going to be aligned to my higher purpose or my higher self. And then I called in Archangel Raphael. And Raphael is the healer angel, and I asked him to just be with me in the room so that if there was anything unseen or anything I didn't know about with any of the other executives in the room, if there's any conflict amongst them or anything, that it be smoothed and healed and just relaxed a little bit, that he'd take that away. And then I called in Archangel Uriel. He's the alchemist and helps us manifest. And as I was presenting, I wanted the outcome to be whatever was for my highest purpose. So it wasn't about me so much. It's like, if it's meant for my highest purpose, then let's go forward with this. And then lastly, I asked Archangel Gabriel to join. Gabriel is a master with words. And so with Mercury retrograde, I just asked her to help me find the right words. So I didn't get tongue-tied or I didn't stumble. But not just me, but to help everybody else in the room also so that they can clearly communicate. Because during a Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde, it's even in a work relationship, you can get confused about what's meant in your conversation, right? And so if you ask for some help to help clarify that everybody hears and everybody's listening and everybody's on the same page, it makes that communication a little bit easier.
And this is also something that you can do like every morning when you wake up or before you go to bed. It's just like ask the angels, what is my purpose? What do I need to do? Can you help guide me through it? Is that right?
That's absolutely right, Jake. Thank you for bringing that up. I do have a practice. When I go to bed every night, I thank them for being with me. Even if I didn't really think or feel their presence, I always do. But if I didn't think that they did something in particular, I still thank them for being with me. And it is the first thing I do in the morning. I invite them into my space and I ask them to guide me for my highest purpose. Because sometimes what I want might not be the best thing for my highest purpose. It might take me on a detour, and I don't want to do a detour. I'd rather go, drive that straight line. So I invite them in. That's a really good point today.
And also, it's not just thinking and bringing in angels and guides and stuff, but also your spirit animals and stuff too. I work a little bit with spirit animals, and just to say, they really want to work with us nowadays, especially with like all the stuff that's going on energetically and just in the environment and stuff. And so just to acknowledge them and ask them for help too would really benefit you.
Absolutely. And their energy. So as we are going through evolution, and I want to go back to your comment, what's going on with the energies? The energies are all there to help us evolve. So when you talk about animals and animal spirit guides, they're actually there to help us through our evolution. And so back to my example this morning, I saw 2 eagles as I was driving to my meeting. And then all of a sudden, in the corner of my eye, I saw an entire flock of turkey in a field. And so those were really good signs for me. I was excited to get messages from the animal kingdom that just kind of helped comfort or help bring a message that it was going to be a really good day. So good comments. And again, the planets are just that energy that's helping. So, we talked about Venus being retrograde. We talked about Mercury being retrograde. And the other planets that are actually retrograde, and Saturn went retrograde on April 5th. And Saturn is typically more disciplinary. It's about our karma. It's about things that we have to work through, maybe that we don't want to work through, things that are really uncomfortable. It's it's typically when authority figures come in or when there's a bigger push of something that's coming in. And so Saturn is going to be retrograde between April 5th and August 24th. So that's kind of a long time for us to be working through some of our lessons. But the reason that we are getting this longer transit is because we will get triggered. And we will get triggered, and then we might avoid or run. We might develop patterns that the triggers are trying to get us to break or shift or change, and we just are stuck in that pattern. And so I look at this longer Saturn retrograde is when those opportunities come up, it's kind of in your face, like, what do I want to do with this energy? What do I want to do with this situation? And now I'm at this point right now where I have an opportunity to change it. Because it's going to feel like it's kind of in our face. And again, and it's based on karma. I want to go back to Venus being retrograde. What might be happening for some people is old relationships might be coming back because they have karma yet that they need to work out in that old relationship. Or they have to get tough in their patterns. You know, if I combine the Saturn energy and the Venus energy, they have to get maybe a little bit more inner energy toughness with themselves to break through that pattern. So that's another retrograde. And then Jupiter. Jupiter has been retrograde since February 9th, and it's going to be retrograde until June 9th. But Jupiter is typically the planet of luck. And it's luck, but it's also our search for our purpose and our meaning. And you had asked me a little bit ago about what's going on with the energies and the Libra moon, and what people might be experiencing and have been experiencing since early this year is really figuring out, am I in the right job? Am I in the right house? Am I in the right relationship? And then they have these creative energies coming in that's giving them all sorts of ideas, and they might be feeling overwhelmed with, I have all these great ideas, which ones do I act upon and which ones do I just avoid or ignore or just put on a list? And all of those are, what I'm suggesting to people is they're an opportunity for you to really weigh in on your emotions. So if you have all these ideas coming in or these opportunities, it's to really resort back to, well, how do I feel about it? Do I just think it's going to be a good thing, or do I just think it's going to be happy and joyful and be aligned with my higher purpose, or do I feel it? So that's part of the emotional body expansion. And so we're going through this time of really soul searching. Is aligned with what I value, purpose, what I'm here to do. And again, the best way to bounce that is, how do I feel about it? And people are comfortable with their feelings. Right. Yeah. We try to run and hide from our feelings. We try to avoid them. And with Jupiter and Venus and Saturn, we're not going to be able to really avoid those. We're really getting pushed into addressing the emotional piece.
So it's probably safe to say that if you're going to try to run from the problems and try to just turn tail, go the other way, or just not doing the work at all, that you're going to have a much harder time this upcoming.
Harder time because it's going to repeat.
Yeah.
So if it's something that is a roadblock to your evolution, the universe is going to give you those opportunities again and again and again. And for people that are listening to this, how many times have you changed jobs because of a bad coworker, you didn't like your boss, and you go to another company and there's somebody with the same characteristics or you're experiencing the same thing? That's that repeat pattern that I talked about earlier. And in that situation, it's sometimes we have to experience that repeat pattern again and again and again, and it has to come so close into our face before we understand, number one, it is a pattern, and then two, we have the power and the control and the knowledge and wisdom and the support of all these other energetic kingdoms to change it or shift it.
Right.
And so that's what we're in right now is, do you recognize if you're in that spin, that crazy spin? And then the other thing I would say is not trying to do it alone. Using the other kingdoms. And, oh, by the way, people are another kingdom. So not trying to do it alone, trying to work with the support systems that are there to help you with that. So the other planet that is going retrograde, and this one's going retrograde April 19th, all the way to the end of September 20th, is Pluto. And Pluto, even though it's small, Pluto's about change. It's about endings in order for new beginnings to come in. It's known as the planet of transformation. And big transformation, big change. And Uranus is not retrograde, but Uranus is really playing into the 2017 energies. Uranus is about sudden change, quick change, big change, things that you didn't see coming, all of a sudden change. But it also is a big planet or influence on our intuition or our evolution. So all these things are pushing us to evolve. And Pluto and quick changes that we might get to endings and beginnings will move us along in our evolution process. Makes sense?
It does.
So what other questions do you have, Jake?
I don't have any right now. I mean, is there anything that you want to bring up that you haven't talked about?
Well, I want to go back to this portal that was created in March 27th.
Ah, yeah.
Because if we think about stepping away from fear, and I would offer to anybody that's listening to this, if you are reading anything about the retrogrades and bad things happening, step away from that, because fear is a really low frequency, and it's actually going to slow your evolution down. So to counter that, it's to partner or to tap into some of the other energetic kingdoms to help you with that. Ask your angels and guides, loved ones, pets, animals, those to help you. But also to understand that the changes or the things that you are experiencing are to help you evolve. Because you are in an experiential life, it is the way that you will evolve. And the portal that opened up on March 27th, where we were at that almost galactic center, that's a balance between the masculine and the feminine. All these planets are coming in and pushing on us in an energetic way in order to push us through that portal, to push us to another level. And I think it's a huge opportunity to use the support energies of the planets to help us evolve. Because otherwise, if we didn't have that push, we wouldn't be evolving, or we would be slower in our evolution process.
I think something that I just thought of is I know some people who they are, including myself, they want to go through these transformations and stuff like that, and they believe that, I should say we believe that we are, but we're doing so at a very slow pace. And when we had our lunch conversation, you said that this is like not the time to go slow. It is the time to go faster and to ramp up.
That's the push energy. And we had talked about it being the number 1 year.
Yep.
So a number 1 year, if you add 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 7, that equals 10, or you reduce it to 1. 1 is all about new beginnings and establishing new sets of protocols, new patterns, new way of being. That's what 2017 is about. It's a new way of being in a different community. So well, first of all, status quo isn't going to sustain. and people can't be at status quo because you're going to get pushed along, whether you like it or not. And the universe wants you to go faster so that you stay on track with the 9-year cycle that we're in. And if we're in year 1, you want to take advantage of these energy opportunities that are coming in so that you can evolve with them. So you take advantage of it. So I don't want to plant the seed of fear like I'm going to miss it. But you certainly want to take advantage of it.
So one thing is that that comes into mind is that, like you say, it's a 9-year cycle, and we're in the first year. So to me, I automatically think, oh, I have a lot of time to go or to do the work and stuff. But that time goes really fast.
It goes really fast, but also in a 1 year, you really want to establish what the next 9 years are going to look like.
Right.
And so if you go slow, or if you're backpedaling, if you don't want to go through the change, or you want to hang on to the old, then that sets precedence for what you might experience for the upcoming years.
So it's safe to say that if you spend this year now, this 1 year, backpedaling or trying to get out of the work and just being slow moving or even stagnant, that the next 8 years are just going to be miserable.
They might be. And it depends on, because again, the universe is always going to be pushing you to evolve or change. So I remember journaling. I was really young. I was probably, 5th grade or 6th grade. And I remember getting messages from Archangel Michael and St. Germain and the other angels at that time. And I was doodling, and the message came in that if you don't learn from an event, the event will repeat itself again and again and again. And I don't remember what I was experiencing at that moment. I believe that they were telling me something I was doing in my life. They were telling me I needed to break a pattern or break a cycle. But it resonated with me that if I didn't change, it was going to come back again. And the next time it was going to come back again, it was going to come back stronger, or maybe a little bit more uncomfortable, as a way to get me to change. Because sometimes, as humans, we don't like to change, right? So we sometimes would rather be uncomfortable and stay in an uncomfortable situation versus jumping into something we don't know about.
Right.
And the way the universe helps us evolve on that is by making us uncomfortable. So each time in the evolution process, you might get a little bit more uncomfortable or a little bit more uncomfortable. And sometimes the universe will give us slightly different examples to try to poke at us a different way. So for example, if the universe is trying to get us to open our heart up, the universe might poke at our heart emotion or love emotion, but if that isn't working, then the universe might poke on other emotions just to get some sort of reaction or movement in order so that all the emotions can then evolve. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what I'm also seeing too, and you might be experiencing this with friends or people that you interact with too, Jake, is that people, as they go through their evolution, might be losing their friends, or they might be having more conflict with their friends. And that sometimes happens because as we evolve, we're shifting into a higher frequency and they're not, or they're shifting into a different frequency. So they're very different.
Right.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, great. Other questions?
I don't think so.
We covered a lot today.
We did.
This was really fun. So I want to thank all our listeners for joining us. Thanks, Toby, for that little bark. For joining us, and we will connect with you very soon. Have a great day, everyone.